Well, good morning, y'all. It is morning here at my house, and I'm taking advantage of the fact that my kids are not here right now so that I can teach y'all something about making fried beans, or as many Americans call it, refried beans. These are coming from the dried beans, not from a can. Not because canned beans are particularly bad, it's just this is the way that you're going to find it generally in a Mexican household. So here we go. Here, as you can see, I have my beans on the counter. I kind of just already emptied the bag here on the counter. This is give or take 1 pound of beans. Obviously, you can do as many as you like. I've got my pot right here. But as I go, I'm going to be looking and I'm going to move it around to make sure that I don't have any kind of rocks or pebbles in it. You will see a difference. This is, of course, pinto beans. And I apologize for the noise. But just as I go, I'm going to just make sure that before I put any more into the pot, there's no kind of pebbles, no kind of rocks, or any kind of anything in there. And I will be right back as soon as these are in the pot. Now I'm just going to rinse them. I'm just going to fill it pretty well, most of the way full. Obviously, you don't want it to boil over, so you're not going to fill it completely to the very brim. Now, if it needs any more water while it's cooking, which it should take in between about 1 hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours, I'll have it on medium heat here on the stove. I'll put it on to high up until it boils, and then I'll just have it on medium heat after it begins to boil. If I need any other water during the time that it's boiling, though, if it begins to get low, the beans will not cook really when there's not enough water, or it will take them an extra long time to cook. So if I need any extra water, I can put it on the stove in another pot to boil and then just add it in there. And that way it's not going to decrease the temperature, and it's going to help the beans cook more quickly, more evenly, etc. So I believe that that's pretty much all you need to know for the moment up until they are boiling and completely boiled and ready to get out the pot. Also, before I forget to tell y'all, the reason that I went and rinsed them off is, of course, because they grow in the earth. You want to take off any and all dirt off of them. That is definitely helpful so you don't end up with dirty, nasty looking water. Kind of like with a lot of people, the way that they like to rinse off rice, the very same concept. Alright, now I'm ready to fry these beans up. This is the easy part in a way, but I'll show you there can be pitfalls because I fell in them, so I will show you real quick. This next step requires whatever oil that you would use to fry. You want a decent amount, but not too much. You want it to kind of sort of, if you can cover the bottom of whatever frying pan that you're going to use. You're going to use, obviously, a frying pan because it's fried beans. So you want to be able to kind of cover up that bottom of that pan. I'm going to let that get warmed up. I've got this stove on medium heat, and I will let you know it's going to pop whenever it starts to get in there. So you're going to want to keep kind of sort of away whenever you're getting ready to put the first, especially, scoop of beans into here. This oil should be plenty well heated. So the next step, I'm stepping back as I just said, and then I'm going to dump that in there. I'm going to let it take on a little bit of the flavors of the oil before I start to add any of that broth. I do believe that I forgot to mention, after the beans began to boil, I added a good amount of salt to the beans so that it's not completely just bland, no salted beans. Alright, now you can take whatever cup that you would like, preferably something plastic that is dishwasher safe. Whether you have a dishwasher or not, you just want it to be dishwasher safe. You're going to get some of that broth from those beans. It's had a couple seconds to start to really get those flavors integrated. Now you can add that in there, but you don't want to leave it to boil for too awful long before you start to mash it up. And you can use, because you were able to get that broth out of there, you can use the exact same cup. I learned this tip actually from my mother-in-law, and she said that she learned it from my sister-in-law. Well, technically ex, former, whatever you want to say, but to me they're still family. And you can just take that and just mash them up. Before she taught me this, I used to use a potato masher. If you don't have a cup or something that you can use that would be like this, absolutely use a potato masher. You can. Some places, especially at local restaurants, I will see that it looks like they've put everything into a blender. You can do that. And then we're just going to let this start to boil real good because it looks like it's pretty well mashed. And if you have a few whole beans, who cares? It's rustic, right? I'm just going to let that boil just a teeny little bit, and then it's going to be done. It's going to be ready to go, ready to eat. That's all that there is to it. Now, granted, I know that my sister-in-law that taught me how to cook, she actually liked to add onion in that oil before she added her beans. She would dice up some onion and it would give a nice flavor, but I got out of that practice, being honest, because the ex didn't like it, or at least he said he didn't. So I just got out of the habit, but it is definitely a way that some Mexicans will do it as well. So if you want to add that in, absolutely, feel free. I'm sure that it gives a lovely flavor. I'm sure it does. I love onions, so why not, right? But I'm just used to this. And then the other thing that I was going to mention is that you're going to want to turn off the heat, especially depending on how soon after you make these that you're going to eat. I'm going to be waiting another couple of minutes, so I'm going to want this broth not to boil off. This is probably a good spot, and I will show you before I make the plate how that it will thicken up and everything like that, and a lot of that broth is going to already boil off. Even though the stove is completely off, it can be taken off this burner and it's still going to boil off some of that broth, and it's gonna be a lot thicker, a lot less broth here. So I'm gonna just keep it boiling for just another minute or so. I probably may have put in a teeny bit too much broth in there, and I'm not worried about that though, because it will boil off. Absolutely, if you want to, add plenty of broth. I wouldn't say do the whole pot worth, obviously. Even if you put an entire pot of beans into the frying pan, I was about to say the cazuela, which is what the word that I would have used if I were speaking in Spanish, but definitely even if you were to use all the beans, you don't need all that broth by no stretch of the imagination. And this will be done momentarily, so I will see y'all in just a minute once it's ready to serve. As you can see, this definitely has thickened up. It looks absolutely beautiful to me. I am not going to let it continue to boil anymore. I'm not going to let it continue. I'm going to put a lid on this, and this is just about perfect because you want it to be a teeny bit soupy. It actually is a good thing, and it's really good. So there we go. All done with that. There you go. Refried beans. It's a lot healthier, without a doubt. It doesn't have all the preservatives in it, but it's probably just as delicious, maybe even a little bit more than your typical refried beans from a can. I hope that you enjoy my recipes. If you like my recipes, hit the like button, hit the subscribe. If I can be of any help to you, I'd love to. I've made my channel especially for people that don't know about the Mexican kitchen, that don't know how to make authentic Mexican food, because I didn't. So I want you to learn. If I can help you, I'd love for you to subscribe to my channel, and otherwise you just have a delicious day.